All right, we are live. What is up, everyone? It is Will with the Next Level Laser Conference with Tabitha. Hey, I pointed the right way.
Hi.
And Dawn. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. We're going to give you guys just a couple minutes to jump on here. We'd love to see who's on. Say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. Tabitha, I know where you're at, but where are you watching or joining the live from? And how's the weather there?
Near Sacramento. Weather's not too bad right now, but it's going to be in the high 90s today, so we'll stay inside.
Yes. And Dawn, you are.
Yes, I am near Boise, Idaho. And right now it's 79 degrees and sunny on the way to 101, I think it said. So it's going to be hot today. So same, we'll probably stay inside.
Yes, yes. And I like Tabitha said, I'm what, 30 minutes from you. So
Mhm.
your weather, my weather, hot. Hot, not enjoyable at all. So thank you guys so much for
I'm not
joining
going to
us on
complain
a
though.
no. Are you guys more of a hot weather person or cold weather?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why we had to get out of Minnesota. I don't think we moved far enough south though, but we'll take hot over cold any day of the week. So yeah, we're like, bring on the hot weather. We love it.
Oh, no, I will take -7 and throw on 7 jackets and a beanie before I would want to be in this heat. No, this is much. I mean, I think it was last year I went to Palm Springs, or 2 years ago, I went to Palm Springs, and 3 in the morning it was 118. I was like, yeah, no, this is not fun at all. But yeah, give me the cold all the time.
No. Mm.
Cool. Well,
Agreed
thank you
to
guys all for joining us. The reason we're having this live is we want to introduce you guys all to our amazing teachers for the Next Level Laser Conference 2025, which is coming up in less than 2 months. August 28th through the 30th in Grapevine, Texas. And we are joined by one of our amazing teachers, Dawn, who is going to teach about fundraisers and how that can be an amazing opportunity for our businesses when we're looking at different revenue streams and how to get our name out there in front of other people. But first, we don't want to assume that everyone knows who you are. So, Dawn, if you'd love to introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about your laser journey and how you got where you are here today.
Yeah, so welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us. So, yeah, I'm Dawn Marie. In a nutshell, I teach people how to make money with the things that they make on their laser and with their equipment. And one of my specialties is doing that in a party setting. So, you can call it a workshop, you can call it a class, you can call it a party. I call it a party because that just sounds way more fun to me. But yeah, so I teach people how to do DIY parties. And I started my journey. Oh gosh, when was it? Back in 2016 is when I started my business. I had my first full year in 2017 with parties, the physical parties, and it was insanely crazy. We did over 200 parties that year. I had a team of 8 of us doing them, and then did that for a few years. Started teaching it in January of 2020, and that is what I have been doing full time ever since. So I moved from doing the actual physical parties to teaching people how to do the parties. So for 5.5 years, that's what I've been doing. And yeah, that's kind of what has got me here in a fast forward version. So
Amazing
Hey,
journey, just the amount of growth, not just for yourself, but how you've helped and inspired other people to follow that same path. So that's
yeah,
amazing.
and that's like the most rewarding part. I know people probably say all the time is like, oh, seeing others succeed is like, the fun part or whatever, but it really is because those messages and those comments and all that I see from people either in my free group or that have been students of mine or whatever, that they've literally changed the course of their family because they did something that they learned from me. Like that is insane. And I do not take it lightly at all. And so it is so rewarding to be part of people's journey, even if it's just a very small part. And that's what keeps me going. So that's what I love about it.
when you started your parties, was that all on a laser or was that before a laser?
That was before a laser. So I did actually like 600 parties before I even got a laser. And so that was back when we were just doing vinyl cutting and stencils and stuff like that. And so that's the other thing. If you're new to the whole laser world, or just kind of dabbling in it, or seeing if it's for you or whatever, there are things you can be successful with or start before you even bring a laser into your journey. But then once you do, it opens up a whole nother world really of possibilities of products. And even just with the parties, you can do so many different products with the laser at these parties than you could without it. So, but yeah, I started well before I even knew what a laser was. So yeah.
Now you're doing the fundraising too?
Yeah. So one of the things, and again, I when I was doing the parties, I didn't have any mentors or any guidebooks that I followed or anything. And so it was all really just trial and error. And one of the ways that I was able to continue to book parties consistently was through fundraisers as a marketing tool. And so that was one thing that we did a lot of, was parties as fundraisers. And so then I just got, I got used to, who do I talk to? I got good at talking to them, kind of not promoting myself, but pairing it with a business or an organization in your area in a way that would be beneficial to both of you. And so, yeah, that's one area, one kind of niche market that I was able to get good at because I needed a way to get out into my community. And it turns out fundraisers is an amazing way to do that. So.
And at what point did you figure out that could be profitable?
Well, right away, because honestly, that was one myth, so to speak, that I hear actually still, is that, don't expect to make any money at fundraisers, which it's up to you, right? As a business owner, you can decide how much of your profit or how much of the money is going to go back to that organization or the people that you're doing the fundraiser for. But you can still make a profit in there. So from day one, I wasn't going to, continue my business. My business wouldn't be a business without profit, right? And so right away, I knew that I wanted to position it in a way that I could still give back to them. It could still be very beneficial to them, but also I'm covering all my costs and I'm still making a profit. So I never went into it thinking I wasn't going to make a profit, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah,
So when you first start, when you started, you were doing regular parties, and then you saw that there was an opportunity for fundraisers. Was it something that you thought of, or did someone bring it to your attention and say, "Hey, could you do this for my school or for my nonprofit?" And how did that come about, like that thought process in starting fundraisers?
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what my first one was, but I'm sure it probably was my kids' school that, talking to the teachers and the parents, whatever, they would say, hey, why don't we do an event for the school and maybe we can raise funds or whatever. And I think that's what kind of catapulted it. And we can go over, places that are good for fundraisers if we want to on this, but that's one thing that I will be teaching at the conference as well. But schools, for example, are a great place to have a fundraiser, because not only is it the school in general, but there's so many different sectors within the school that are looking to raise money. So for example, it could be like the band department, it could be the art department or athletics. And then even with the athletic department, there's all the sports inside that need to raise money. So you got the football and the swim team and all that, like they need to raise money themselves. And so you could literally take a school and have a dozen fundraisers that support different sectors within that one school. So that's kind of how it started. And again, with your profit, you can decide how much money or percentage or whatever you want to get back to them. So for me, with my kids' school, because my kids went there, I wanted to give them a larger portion. And so as the business owner, I was able to determine that. And so I gave back to their school a lot more than I would have, just some random organization that found me. So the nice thing is you can kind of you set the rules for your business.
So you figured out how to be profitable in it, but have you ever had any instances where it wasn't profitable, where you've had to learn and grow through the experience and change the way you did things so that you didn't fall into that category again?
I wouldn't say that there was a particular one. Like I said, I always tried to, my products were pretty simple because we did the same type of, home decor. And so I always knew my margins. And so it was pretty easy for me to make sure that it was profitable. But there's definitely been learning experiences as far as how to go about things, how to, say things a certain way. And if you're doing a fundraiser, you don't have to do it in a party or a workshop setting. You could do it as, like the home decor, you could do it as like a DIY, like a take home kit. I've done plenty of those. You could even do a finished product. Let's say you want to do hats or tumblers or whatever. You can, figure out a way. I would raise my price a little bit and then donate that portion that I raised plus some of my profit and give that back to the customer. Now, if you have a more expensive blank or a higher priced item where your margins aren't that big, you might find yourself in a position where you were like, oh, I told them we'd sell it for $30 and I'd give them 30%. Well, then you maybe will find yourself going, oh, shoot, that doesn't leave me with much profit at the end. And, it's just one of those things where you're going to learn as you go. And sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. And if that does happen to you, or if you're figuring out something and you're like, crap, I'm not going to make any money, it's okay. You can still use that as a marketing to position yourself in the community, to get your name out there, to show your face to your fellow, either community people or other businesses, other organizations. It never can be, or it never has to be like a bad thing, right? Even if you're not making the money, use it as a marketing tool, use it as a way to get out into your community, to support other businesses, all of that stuff. So there's really no negative side, even if the profit isn't there for you.
Yeah, I think that's important in business in general. If we're talking fundraisers or just selling a product ourselves, is a lot of times as crafters, when we go from hobbyists to actually trying to run a business, is we don't know our numbers. We don't know what our true costs are or how long something takes. So when you want to become profitable, if you're doing fundraisers or if you're selling, you have to know your numbers, right? You have to understand where you have some play if you want to donate to causes that make sense for you, if you want to do fundraisers, if you want to run a sale. You can't run a sale if your margins are at zero and then you look back, you're like, oh, I had this great sale and I sold 1,000 items over the month and I have less money now than when I started. So I think that's an important thing. And when you get to understand those things, then you're able to then do the things that you want to do. Like Dawn says, because it's her kid's school and she knows she wants to give more, knowing where she can charge to give that margin to be able to give back more makes a huge difference. For me, I know a lot of people ask when we talk about fundraisers, they say, oh, well, you see, Dawn, you guys have kids in school, you guys can, the PTA presidents, all the people. But for someone who might, not have those same resources, what are some other, maybe a couple other ideas that you have for places that could utilize fundraisers that are not schools?
Yeah, so a big one is any sort of animal rescue. So that's humane societies, that's, any place that there's a place in my town here that is called Simply Cats, and they rescue all of the cats in the area. And, any place like that, those places are always looking to raise money. And everybody loves their pets, right? And so they would be willing to spend money on whatever product you have just to support that organization. So any sort of animal rescue place in your area would be an amazing outlet to start with. And any form of fundraiser, like I said, you could coordinate a party, you could do take home kits, You could do, little engraved dog tags. You could do anything animal related, and it would sell like crazy usually because people want to support their animal rescues. So, Martha, yes.
Martha, yeah, I saw that question, and when you said animals, I was like, that's exactly one that I hear a lot of people do. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of, it could be something also as a fundraiser for something that you're passionate about, a nonprofit that you're passionate about and you have a cause for. All of these places are always looking for ways to generate income for them. And if you can do something that falls in line with what they need, then you're helping them and you're helping your business get in front of other people as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different places. Again, go with what you're passionate for. If you are a veteran or your, family's into the military, whatever, go to like the VFW and see if they need to raise funds. There's, whatever your passion is. If you're in the medical field, there's a lot of like medical places that want to raise money for this particular project or whatever. Like, it's literally go talk to somebody and see if they need to raise any money. Most likely they're going to say yes. Or if they say no, we're cool with money, then you say, do you know of any organizations that are like you guys or that are in your circle that need to raise funds or whatever? And once you start that conversation with those people, in all my years, I have never, ever, ever been turned down for a fundraiser because they're like, wait, this isn't candy bars. You're not selling, junk food or pizzas or, whatever. You're giving them an experience or you're giving them a product that they love because it's related to their organization or whatever. And so it's kind of out of the box and people like that.
So you've never been turned down when you've offered fundraisers, but what about the other way around? Has anybody ever come to you and you just like, I'm not inspired by that, I'm not going to do that one?
Oh, you kind of froze for a second. I don't know if that was me. So not really. There was one that was weird. I still did it because it was a private, but I couldn't. It wasn't like a business deal where I could get a tax write-off and stuff like that because it wasn't like a nonprofit organization. But it was just a family that wanted to do a fundraiser for their kid to send them on a trip. And so, and it wasn't even like a mission trip or like something. It was just like they wanted to go to Europe or something and they wanted to raise money for it. And they were just inviting their like family and friends, but they wanted some of that money to go to the kid or the daughter. I think it was a high schooler. And so I was like, okay, this doesn't really fit my like fundraiser criteria, but hey, if you want to do a party and you want to, I raised the price a little bit, donated a little bit of money. They were happy. Again, I got to advertise myself to the people that came and whatever. So that was kind of like a little bit unique because it wasn't like an organization. It was just a personal thing. But no, I haven't gotten any weird requests. It's been pretty mellow.
I mean, I think you make a great point when you say no organization, for the most part, is going to say no to money for their organization. I very rarely came across any nonprofit or anything or any charity where they're like, no, we're good. We're good. We're overflowed with cash. Go help someone else. So as long as you can go in there confident and you have a plan on what you're going to offer and that they understand that you're a professional, that you're going to provide a service and product that people are going to enjoy, why would they say no, right? As long as you eliminate all the reasons to say no, money is one they're always going to say yes for. And they don't have to do any work for the most part other than advertise to their market, which is great because we don't get to reach that market all the time. So now we're reaching their market, but at the same time, we're building our name as well.
And that's the best part is you're tapping into their network, which is one of the things I teach with regular parties is if anybody knows the way I teach is not to do public parties. I don't ever teach public parties. It's find a host and do private parties because then you're tapping into their network. So it's the same kind of thing. with fundraisers, you're tapping into their network, their market, their people, and you can even give them graphics or email copy or social media posts or whatever to make it easier for them to share with their audience, to get more people to come. But yeah, it's there hasn't really been anybody that's like, yeah, we're good. Especially, again, like you said, they don't have to do any work with the physical party. I say, hey, I show up on this date, I set up, we do the fun, I take it home, or I leave with it, I clean up, and I cut you a check when it's all done. And they're like, sweet. So
yeah, it's eliminating all the reasons for them to say no. Now if you said, hey, we want to do a fundraiser, I need you to do this, you have to do this, I need you to, then of course it's going to be like, well, we have to think about it, we're already short manpower. But if you're doing all the work, and like you said, at the end, all you're doing is cutting them a check, and all they're really having to do is market it to their network, who would say no? I mean, I've done it for my kids' school, I've done it for my daughter's ballet. Hey, just send out this email, here's the graphic for you, we make it very easy for you. And they're like, sign me up multiple times a year.
Yeah, be the solution that they need, and you're going to hear yeses all day long. Yep.
So when you were first starting, what were some of the hurdles or challenges you have? I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't know a lot of people, or I'm in a small town, I don't know, like you said, I don't have the resources at the school. How would you overcome some of those, and how would you think that people could strategize to get over that hurdle of, I have a very small network?
Yeah. So, well, you're not using your network. So that's the best part. Same with just regular parties too. You're not using your own network. So the first thing I would do is just brain dump on a piece of paper, write down every business, organization, place that you think that's in your local town that could use funds. And even down from the bank. Go talk to somebody. Maybe they support an organization that they do a fundraiser for every year or something like that. And I know a lady who she's a realtor, but she supports this, kids cancer or something or other. And every year her team does these fundraising events for this organization. Well, that's not working with that organization directly. That's working with that realtor. But if you can coordinate a fundraiser for that realtor so she can then support that organization, you just have to start talking to people. So again, think of the banks that you go to, your dentist's office, the medical buildings you visit, the places that are in your area. Again, do you go to the certain restaurant every Friday? Well, go talk to them, see if they know any places. It's just getting your name out, building your confidence. That's another huge hurdle people have is I'm not good enough, or I don't know where to start, or I just have this lack of experience or confidence or whatever. And that gets built by momentum, and momentum gets built by action. So you just need to take that first step. And I always say this too, is in my teaching, do, review, adjust, and do again. You need to do it. You need to go talk to somebody. Okay. See how that went. Review how it went in your mind. What could have gone better? What could you have done differently? Did it work out great? Okay, then do that again. And then adjust anything that needs to be adjusted and do it again. So just over and over and over again, you have to just get out of your shell. Start even by sending a bunch of emails. If you're worried about talking to somebody in person, send out a bunch of emails and say, hey, is this something that you would be willing to talk to me about? And, if you get a response, then go from there. But you have to be able to get outside your shell and just start that conversation. And you just might be super surprised at where it leads.
Oh, absolutely. Getting your confidence and that momentum going with every yes that you hear is actually very good advice there.
Well, and even with the no's, I saw this thing, it was going around social media the last couple of weeks. I've seen it a few times that says, if you knew you had to get through 25 no's in order to hear your first yes, how fast would you want to get through those no's? And I was thinking I I'd be like, bring them on. No. Okay. Next. No. Okay. Next. No. Because you know you're going to get to that yes. And so if you can just have it in your mind that you need to hear some no's, or you're going to hear some no's maybe, or maybe you'll talk to somebody that, they don't do that kind of thing or whatever. Like, if you know that that's just part of the process, that you just need to keep going through it, then it's not going to be as big a deal. You may not take it as personally if you hear that no, or that, not this year, or we don't have time, call us next year, or something like that. That's okay. Get through those first 25 no's to get that one yes. And just don't think no or later means I'm not good enough, I can't do this. Like, just keep going.
I think that's a fear for so many people. That's the biggest hurdle. Once you get past that hurdle of being okay with rejection and not taking it personally, because that's, we've all done it, right? We walked in, and when I was starting selling cutting boards to realtors, it was like, oh no, we're not looking. Oh, my stuff sucks. I suck. This is never going to work, and then I'm like, well, I thought I would walk in and I would just sell hundreds of cutting boards right away. And it's like, we have this weird expectation that we're going to be good at something when we first do it. The more often you talk to people about your business, the more you talk to them about potential fundraisers, the more confident you're going to feel about talking about it. Just like anything we do, the more repetition. And it might take you 25 no's because you sucked for those 25 no's. But when you get to 26 and now you have more confidence, you have a better pitch, you have a better understanding of what people are looking for, that's when the yeses start coming, right? Because if I was running a nonprofit and someone came in and said, hey, I want to do this fundraiser. Oh, I don't know. I'll give you some money. I'll show up. I'll do this. You're like, I don't trust that. And then you walk in and it's Dawn walks in and she's confident and says, hey, I've done this. This is how it works. I will be here at this time. You do this. I have the graphics for you. I have all this for you. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And you only get to that point by doing all of those 25 no's, right? You can't expect to walk in, especially as someone who might be an introvert, and feel confident like, yeah, I'm gonna walk in here and I'm gonna snatch this sale. You're gonna walk in there nervous. You're going to, I think it's a good tip where if it's easier on email first, get a couple yeses, throw a couple great shows together, then you can walk in and have proven concept too, right? Like, yes, I've done it and I've helped this organization. And once you start gaining that momentum, then they're talking to their network, they're talking to others. You can cite them as a reference as well and say, hey, look, it worked for us. I strongly suggest Dawn, or I strongly suggest Tabitha, because they provide a great service, a great product, and it made us some money. So get out there and just, like they said, do it. It's a numbers game. Yeah. The more people you talk to.
And don't be afraid. Like, I know a lot of misconception is when you say fundraiser, it's going to be like 500 people. That's not true. Like, you can do a fundraiser with just a few, a handful, a party of 10 people, could be a fundraiser. Like, you don't have to have, it doesn't have to be hundreds of people. And so when you say like, oh, I want to coordinate a fundraiser or whatever, you might think in your head, like, it has to be, I have to make thousands of products and I have to coordinate all these people and whatever. And that's not the case. Like, you could build it up to be that. But sometimes, like I said, you're just doing a one for a local church that's going to have 15 people come, and they get $100. Like, it doesn't have to be this ginormous, huge production. And at first, if you just can do a couple of those small ones to, like you said, get that proof of concept, get the photos, get maybe a little testimonial blurb that you did a good job or whatever. And then that's going to really catapult you to the next level.
Now, with your fundraisers, with the parties, do you have like a minimum number of people that you require, or how are you handling that side of it?
Yeah, so that was just kind of the same as my normal party. So when I was doing it, I had a minimum of 10. So again, if they just had a fundraiser for 10 or 12 people, usually they were a little bit bigger. My fundraiser parties were more, starting at like 20, 25. But I just had a minimum of 10, and then we just went from there. And so I just had a certain percentage or a certain price per person that I would give back to them. They knew that up front. They knew exactly. This is one thing too. Make sure the expectations are clearly defined as to what they're getting, what your job is, what their job is. If you want them to do anything like promote it or whatever, have that known beforehand. So you're not thinking that they're going to promote it and then they didn't know to. And so then there's confusion and whatever. So expectations, make sure they're written out. You could even do like a little form if you want to, so everybody knows what they're doing. But yeah, I just had a simple minimum of 10, and then, we just went from there. So.
And then what if they didn't reach that minimum?
So then I would automatically turn it into, if it was a physical party that I was going to go to, I would just automatically turn it into a kit party. So let's say they only had, 8 people sign up, and sometimes I still went, like it varied. But if we were super busy and I knew that I could refill that spot quickly, I would just turn it into kits and be like, hey, you guys only got, 6 people signed up. That's great. So what I'm going to do is instead of having an instructor come and teach you guys how to make it, I'm going to pack everybody's up into kits, and, we're going to like send them that way. And then everybody just did a kit to take home, and they were totally fine with it because they understood that if it was less than that, then that was going to happen. So.
But having those expectations set up front gives you that success.
Yep. And some of that stuff you learn as you go, right? It just, some stuff you don't foresee happening, and then it happens, and then you got to figure out what your rule was or whatever. And that's just part of business. You're going to just learn as you go. But as much stuff as you can prepare for ahead of time, try to prepare for. So set a minimum. And if they don't reach it, then what's going to happen? Are you going to cancel? Are you going to turn them into kits? Are you going to do it anyways? Like, whatever your rules are, just make sure everybody is aware of them, so there's no confusion.
I had a question when it comes to, say you're going to different nonprofits or businesses or schools or wherever you're going to pitch these potential fundraisers. Do you tend to go in there with a set product that you intend to make, or do you come up with ideas that you feel will fit their organization? Like you said, if you're going to an animal rescue, are you changing your approach to which products you will offer, or do you kind of keep it pretty much the same across the board?
That's a great question. So for me, what I did was I let them pick from any of my designs for any fundraisers. But if there were certain places like an animal rescue, I would highlight the animal ones first, or also, so they knew that there was those options, instead of being like, oh, hey, pick from any of my designs and just kind of letting them have at it. I would highlight the animal ones. Now, if someone doesn't have a bunch of designs, or they're doing a particular project or whatever, I would definitely kind of pair them with whatever business or organization you're working with, because it's going to hit home more. It's going to be more like personal and sentimental, maybe, if you pair your project with whoever you're doing it for, or your design on your project or whatever. So definitely, if you're going to an animal rescue place, show some animal designs, whether, like I said, it's a tumbler where you have, paw prints on it or whatever, or home decor or anything else. So I would definitely do that based on who you're talking to. And yes, if you can go in there with a product and show them an example, even if it's not exactly what you're going to be making, show something similar, because once somebody can touch it, hold it, feel it, smell it, whatever, they're going to be much more likely to say yes than just some concept they think of in their brain.
And I know we talk a lot of in-person events, right? And I know, have you done other fundraisers for organizations where it wasn't in person, right? I know you mentioned kits. Is that an opportunity for people where, hey, they order this item from me, kind of like we do with candies, right? The kids bring me a form, we order the candies, they get the candies directly to me, and then the school gets a percentage of it. Have you done fundraisers like that where you work with the school, and maybe Tabitha's done this as well, where they order certain items directly from you, and then a percentage just goes to that organization, and the organization doesn't have to set up any space. You can do it as your normal production work as you normally would.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's totally fine. If you just do, if you're like, hey, this whole event party workshop thing is not my jam, then you can absolutely do the exact same concept, but sell a product. You know, you're, like I said, you're going to sell tumblers, and you're going to say, hey, here's the 3 designs you can have on these tumblers, or here's the colors that are available, or whatever. Sign up. This is the cost, how much you need, and we're going to deliver them all to the school on August 1st, and whoever, you know, signs up is going to get them. And then at the end, you cut them a check. So it can work the exact same way, just different process. So yeah, absolutely. It's whatever you, that's the nice thing about the versatility of this, is you can do it in person. You can do it as a party. You can do it as a kit. You can do it as a finished product. You can do any sort of thing. It's really the fundraiser part is just the money kind of at the end. So
Now, with the school example, are you having them run everything through your website, or are you having the school do the fundraiser on site and then give you one order at the end?
So I did it. I mean, it kind of will depend on the organization, because if they have certain rules within their district that they have to do it a certain way, or I know that in certain like cities or states, like for tax purposes, your CPA is going to want you to do it one way or the other. So I always say, like, check with your CPA. But what I did was, as much as I could, I ran it through my business, because I could track it and keep track of it a lot better than handing it off to them and hoping they do it the right way that I want them to do it, and then, you know, dealing with it at the end. I just liked saying, like, hey, I'll take care of it all. You guys don't have to worry about anything. Here's the sign up form. Here's the registration form. And whether you run that through your website or Google Forms or whatever, here's how they register and pay. I take all the money, and then I cut them a check at the end. So then when I bring that to my CPA, it's just all very clear on what happened and who got what. And if they're in charge of it, it sometimes gets a little cloudy. If you can do it in a way where they, you know, they'll handle it well, or that's just the way they do it and they have to do it through themselves, then you can do that and figure that out. But I liked being in charge of all that, so it didn't get weird at all.
Yeah, I prefer running those through my website, because first of all, I'm getting more traffic to my website, and people will spend a little bit more time shopping, looking around, prepping for the holidays. So if I've got a fundraiser I'm doing in, say, October, I'm going to highlight my Christmas stuff on that front page. So when people go there, they're already thinking about the next thing that they're going to buy.
Right.
But also just so I can, you know, cut those hat patches as they come in, rather than waiting to the very last minute and, you know, feeling rushed by whatever came up.
Yeah. And if you have a checkout page, like you said, put a little upsell at the bottom, or, you know, order bump or whatever, like, oh, along with your fundraiser thing, here, add this personalized ornament for Christmas for, you know, $12 or whatever it is. And order bumps are amazing that way. Yeah. So if you can be in control of that, I just think it is better all around.
Absolutely.
Now, are there any things, I know you were mentioning CPA, are there anything on our end as a business owner, if we're doing fundraisers, that we should be aware of when it comes to paperwork, tracking? I know we always say, speak to a professional on that, but for the most part, is it the same thing, but you just have to make sure you keep that separate, or is it complicated in that sense?
Yeah. So again, check with your CPA, because they might want you to do it a little bit different. But the biggest thing is you have to keep track of what that fundraiser made, and then how much you gave back to that organization, especially if they are a nonprofit, a 501c3 or whatever, where your gift to them is a tax write-off. And so essentially that is how my CPA, again, could vary, wanted me to do it, was you're getting all the money. So that's essentially a income for you, but then you give them money back. And if you can write that off as a tax write-off, then you want to. So you just have to make sure you keep track of, okay, this brought in $500. I'm giving them back 200, and this is who it went to and all that. Like, as long as you keep really good track of it, you can give that to your CPA and figure out. I would say ask beforehand, because like I said, I have heard people, some of my students, where their CPA wanted them to track it differently. So again, just, give them a warning before you're going to do this to see how they want to do it. But the most part, just like with business in general, if you keep track of your stuff, if you know your numbers, you write it down, you have receipts, you have documentation, you'll be fine.
And for a newbie who's just starting fundraisers, do you have, I know it varies based on how much you want to give, because ultimately you choose to give how much you can based on what you can make, but is there a baseline number that you would say is a good start? Or when I approach a business and say, hey, I would love to do a fundraiser with you, I will give you a percentage, or I will give you a number off of each item. Do you have like maybe a high or a low that you tend to look at as far as a starting point for that?
I mean, I think starting point, look at maybe 20 to 30%. But again, it's going to vary based on your margins. And, with me, with my signs, I had a huge profit margin as far as, my supplies alone were just about $5 a sign. Now it would be more than that because the price of wood has gone up. But back when I was doing the physical parties for fundraisers, and then I was charging anywhere from 45 to 55 for a fundraiser. So like and then my time and stuff. So even if you say $10 a sign, even now, if people are paying $15 for a product, but they can sell it for 55, those profit margins are still huge. And so you're able to give back a little bit more. But I think in general, most organizations would be happy with 25% or something, and then again you can adjust based on who it is, what it is, how much margin you actually have, and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's a dance, right? You will ebb and flow. You'll mess up one time and give them way more than what you thought or whatever, and sometimes you are like, shoot, I probably should have ran that differently or whatever. You'll learn as you go. But in the most part, if you tell some place like, hey, we'll do this, or we'll sell you this and you get $1 a person, well, that's not going to make them super excited to do it. But if they know that they're going to get a pretty good amount per person or per product, that's going to make them, listen a little bit more. And then again, with that, even if your profit margins aren't super great, you're using this fundraiser as a marketing tool, as a way to gain traction, a way to get pictures, promote yourself, get prove the concept, like you said. And so there's really no downside to it, regardless of how much you actually make or not.
Yeah, exposure is important, right? And if you're, I hear that too, like, especially if you're in a smaller town, I'm looking at two potential businesses and I see this one business has been doing fundraisers with the local animal shelter. And I'm like, well, they both make the same product, but this one is active in the community. I'm going to spend my money with the people who are giving back to my community. So like you said, it's, yes, we're a business. Yes, we want to make profit, but there's also, if you're not looking just short term, you're thinking long term, and you're building brand trust, brand loyalty, brand recognition, all of that, just getting in front of those people do that for you. And that's probably going to end up paying off way more in the long run. So I know a lot of us, we think short term, as a, and there's times where we just have to put money in pocket. But if you're in for the long game and you're looking at opportunities to get in front of networks that you would have never reached, uh, get in front of people and show that you're active within the community and you're doing the give back, that pays huge dividends. So think about that as well when you're looking at this as an opportunity to do good
Yeah.
and do good for your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And like Tabitha said, like with the upselling of your products or showing them what else you make, even if you are even if you don't have a website yet and you're just having people sign up through Google form, whatever, that's what I did for all of my hundreds of parties. I just used a Google form. And even if you're doing it something like that, one, you can put what else you make on your form, but also bring some stuff to the party. If you are doing an in-person event, have a little table set up with those ornaments, with those tumblers, with those hats, with the finished signs, whatever you make. Show people what else you do. Show them that they could, buy it off the table if you have it ready, or they can put in an order for Christmas coming up or Mother's Day or whatever. Everywhere you go, you can be advertising what else you're doing besides just that actual event.
And we've talked a lot about the success you've had with it, but bringing it to the other side, there's got to be some failures along the way. For me personally, the biggest failure that I had was not having an intake form. So I would have people say, I want to do this fundraiser, but they didn't actually have permission from that 501c, and they didn't have permission to use the logo. So I would have to try to hunt it down and try to talk to the next person. So making sure that the right person is in contact with you, not just somebody who likes the idea of it, somebody that has permission, somebody who's willing to do the promoting. Because I spent hours putting together all of these mock-ups to put on my website just to never hear back again. So having that intake form changed that for me. So for you, what was your biggest failure?
Well, you bring up a good point, because just because the front desk lady says like, oh, this is amazing, like, let's do it, might not be the best person to get the go ahead. So make sure you're talking to the right person, and that right person could be different based on, who it is, right? It could be the manager, it could be the owner, it could be the coordinator, it could be whatever, but whoever is that right person, you need to just ask in order to talk to that person that has the ability to say yes, for sure. I think one of the biggest things I did at the beginning was I didn't get the people that were registering. I just had their name and their email, but I didn't get any other contact information. Now I like to do phone numbers at least. But actually, I think it was even before emails. I just had them put their name down, because I remember there was one specific where I had a question, or she didn't, they had a few different choices and she didn't put down which choice or whatever. And somehow I was like, I don't know, this lady's going to show up and I'm not going to have anything ready for her, and I have no way of contacting her. So again, making sure that, you were talking about an intake form, but this is like a registration form, has the information that you need from them in order to, if you had to contact them, maybe their payment didn't go through, or maybe you had a question about, the project that they wanted or whatever. Do you have a way to get a hold of them? And I just had to I contacted the host and tried to figure out like who this person was so I could ask a question. So I would say, off the top of my head, without thinking too hard, one of the big things I did at the beginning was I didn't have a way to contact the people that were coming, like the registrants. So now I make sure I get their email, I get their phone number, and most of the time I don't use it, right? But if you had to contact those people, that's aside from making an email list, but if you had to contact them before the event or before the fundraiser or the party or whatever, could you? And so that was one thing that I learned quickly, was to make sure you have the right information on your registration form.
Absolutely.
A question I have too is, I know we do the fundraisers to help organizations, right? We want to help them. We're looking at things we might be passionate about, helping our kids with their school. but at the same time, we're trying to tap into a market that we might not necessarily be able to reach. And we are a business and we're looking to use this as an opportunity to get in front of more people. When you do fundraisers, do you have requirements or do you have like minimums that they would have to do to also somewhat promote you and your business? Or is it, hey, I'm just going to do this one time event thing? You don't have to post on your social medias or anything. Or is there something that you try to work out where it's mutually beneficial, right? Because we're helping them raise money for their organization, but we also want them to support us and promote. So is that something that you tend to do? Like when people ask us for donations, it's like, oh yeah, we'll do a donation, and then they don't even mention that we brought this $200 basket. So now, like, for at least when I do donations, there's a certain set that they have to do to promote my business as well. Is that something that you've done or you've learned over the years with fundraisers that have helped grow your business?
I would say, well, most of the time they're excited to share because we're doing something like a party that is kind of out of the box and that they've never experienced before. But so right away at the beginning, you're in those expectations, you're going to want to say, hey, I'm going to give you these graphics. I'm going to give you the information. If you can send it to your email list, if you can post it on your social, you can have that set list of things that you want them to do beforehand. And then afterwards, you can ask them, hey, I'll have, pictures that I'll send you. Could you post them on your social, tag my business, whatever. So again, if you set those out beforehand, then you're much more likely that they're going to actually do them. I didn't have a problem with people not doing it. I think it would have been better if I gave them like, hey, I would really like you to do this, but I didn't see a lot that weren't sharing. And what I would do too at the end is my business would post it on social and then tag that organization. So then their people are seeing it as well, just in case they didn't share it themselves. So it never was really a problem for me per se. But if you want to be proactive in making sure that they share and stuff, then yeah, absolutely have it in writing, have expectations like, hey, afterwards, if you could do a post on all your social medias or whatever, like that would be great. Tag my business. Because yeah, it is mutually beneficial. You want to make it where you are helping each other. You're going to be promoting them. They're going to be promoting you. And it's a win-win for everybody. So, but yeah, definitely if you have those expectations beforehand, then there's not going to be any surprises. But it's a great idea because, I mean, that's how things work these days, right? Is social sharing and all that. So
yeah, and the more business we drive from these events and these fundraisers, the more opportunity we get to do these things, right? If we're only doing fundraisers and we're not pricing properly, or we're giving away too much, or we're not building our business, then eventually you can't continue to keep giving, right? So you're now reaching a market, they're buying other items from you, it's growing your business, and you're able to give back more. So
right.
it kind of just feeds this entire cycle. But man, thank you so much. This has been great. It's a lot
Yeah.
of great tips for people, because I know it's an opportunity for a revenue stream and an opportunity as a marketing thing, as well as giving back to our community, that a lot of us think about, but not a lot of people do. And there's so many opportunities out there for people, just like that. Like you said, if you just brain dump, like that you said
Yeah.
earlier in the interview, if you just brain dump all the possibilities within even a small neighborhood, there's tons of them there. And that'll just this, I think, stimulates people to say, hey, we can do it, right? It's
Yeah.
not as difficult as people think. And I mean, you shared some tips. We didn't give away everything, because you guys do need to come to Next Level Laser Conference, August 28th through the 30th in Grapevine, Texas. Get your tickets if you haven't. Dawn is one of our amazing teachers there. She'll be teaching more about fundraisers, going more in depth there. Uh, Tabitha, she's one of our amazing teachers there. She'll be teaching about hats, hat pressing, and getting quality products so that you can offer that to your customers and to businesses. And I mean, those two can work hand in hand, because I know, Tabitha, you've done it as hats for fundraisers are a big thing too. So hopefully we see you guys all there. I do want to share this really quick with you, Dawn, for everyone. If you guys want to get more information and you guys need more resources, uh, go to sevenarrowsco.com. That's Dawn's link tree there. Everything you need to know, all the amazing courses, the mentoring, the coaching. She's a valuable resource within the community as far as helping people support that. And if you have more questions and you want more in depth about what she does, go there. She's more than willing to help guide you. She's helped, I don't know, thousands of people in this community grow their businesses with fundraisers and DIY parties. And you got so many things going on. So thank you so much for sharing that. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. We might not get to them right now, but we can go back and check them. If you're watching this later, hashtag replay so we see how many people are watching this later, because we want to reach as many people as possible. So thank you again. If you have any last piece of advice for people when it comes to parties or fundraisers, what would you say is the biggest thing for people to just get out there and do?
Just start. So many people get inside their head first and they think of all the what ifs and all of the overwhelming, project ideas and all that stuff. All you need to do is pick something that you absolutely love to make and teach other people how to make it. And, start with a practice party. Grab a few girlfriends, a neighbor, a coworker, your kids, your parents, whatever, and teach them how to make the project that you love. Use those pictures to promote it and just start. Like when I did my first one, I had no clue what I was doing. I made all of the mistakes, but then I knew what to do and what not to do the next time. And then I just rinsed and repeat, and it grew from there. So again, just start. And if you don't know where to start, let me know. I can tell you where to start. I have resources. Some are free, some are paid, some are, whatever. So just don't let that fear of, I don't know how to begin or what's the first step, stop you from doing this, because it could be amazing. Even if you're already a business and even if you're already just selling products or whatever, fundraisers could be a whole nother avenue that you do that opens up a market you didn't even know was there.
Perfect. Great advice. Anything to add, Tabitha?
No, just thank you so much for being here with us and for all that you shared, and can't wait to take your class at the conference.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we when we think about when we put together our list of teachers, we want people who have knowledge, of course, but are so willing and open to share within the community. And over the years, you've proven to be one who's going to share with the community, and we love that energy that you bring, and we're excited. And I know a lot of people are excited to take your class, but also just meet you. So if you haven't got your tickets, nextlevellaserevents.com. Thank you again, Dawn, for coming. Thank you, Tabitha, for being the co-host. I'm tired of seeing and talking to Mark, so this was a nice change. I hope Mark's not watching, but yeah, we had a lot of fun with this. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully we see you all soon. We'll see you in the groups. If you need anything, feel free to reach out to any of us, but get your tickets so I don't have to mock you and call you a loser if you don't come to Next Level Laser events. So you guys have a great day. Hang out, Dawn and Tabitha. I'll end the stream, but we'll stay on. You guys have a wonderful afternoon and talk to you guys soon.
Bye, guys.